Okay, y'all, we here live, episode 6, TBD.
Hey.
We're in the building, live from Pancake Cafe in Stoughton, Wisconsin. Stoughton, thank you for being so supportive of us. We appreciate the city and Dane County and Madison. As always,
I'm Keena, y'all. Keena, owner of Rougie Wellness.
I'm Dreya. Go on.
aspiring writer, couple books being published.
You know, the titles.
It's
the titles,
TBD.
The titles.
You know what I'm saying? The social normalities behind the titles, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Trying to
Drew.
stay away from that.
Yeah, I'm Drew. I own Pancake Cafe in Stoughton, and then have Back to Basics, which focuses on empowering youth, and that's been very powerful over the last 2 years. Man, okay. So what I wanted to say is acceptance, right? Y'all, we could literally change the name of TBD to acceptance and talk about acceptance for like years. I think, you know what I'm saying? And we were talking like, oh, do we do acceptance part 3? I remember in the last podcast I said we'd do that, but I want to transition the acceptance into a similar conversation relevant to our last podcast. So we talked about perfection a lot in our last podcast and living up to that standard. And we had mentioned that perfection is a standard that you make up in your head and that it doesn't have anything to do with reality.
Mm-hmm.
And, I listened to the podcast like 3 or 4 times, even on the way here, baby's in back, Andrea's nursing baby, and I got a podcast and I just keep rewinding it. So Andrea, I'm like, oh, I've already listened to the podcast twice. I'm just continuing to rewind it. I want to reflect. I'm like, man, is that something that we really make up? And I wanted to think about my upbringing. And I was like, I don't know if we make it up in our head. I think one would argue that social normalities, right? Society teaches us to be perfect. Think about the school system. You got A, B, C, D, F. 0% through 100%. You know what I mean? If you get 100%, what is that? That's a perfect A, right? Kayshawn shooting free throws. 10 for 10 from the free throw line. What is that? He was perfect from the free throw line. And it's interesting because it's nothing against school, but like you have 25 to 30 kids that are striving or being conditioned to be perfect to one standard, to one view, and that's that educator, right? Aceyn, you gonna mess up. You gotta make noise in the podcast. So you have to strive for this standard to one person. And then I was even telling Andrea, I was like, think about how psychological that can be to condition yourself to fit the view of one standard in different rooms all the time. How would that affect you, like psychologically, like when you fall in love with somebody, or like when you're dating somebody, or when you're in different atmospheres? You're always conditioned to strive for perfection to one standard. There's not many moments where you're encouraged to be creative and to develop habits and behaviors that lead to result. Let's do school. Let's do this. I want to ask a question. And this is referencing being conditioned to be perfect or being conditioned to strive for that 100%. When's the last time for an employer or for school or for a project, you had a leader come to you and say, you know what, I gave you all these directions and you didn't follow a single direction, but the end result was what I was hoping for or yearning for, so I'm giving you 100%. Or whatever, I'm giving you a good grade, whatever you consider that. I can't remember the last time in my 35 years where I disobeyed the directions or I didn't listen to the directions that were provided to me, but I got a result that could have been what their expectations were, or I could have exceeded their expectations. But I was just like thinking to myself, I don't know if that's ever happened in my life, And being conditioned to be perfect, to follow that direction, being conditioned to attain this percentage based on one point of view, it's such a limiting belief. And you had mentioned that perfection is a limiting belief. And I was like, I completely agree with that. But I think one would argue that we're conditioned to limit our beliefs in society. You know what I'm saying? And that was like an aha moment. I don't know where I want to go with that. I'm gonna let y'all take that and run. You know what I mean? But I was like, man, we're conditioned to think we have to be perfect, you know?
Well, I still believe that the perfection is a fabrication in the mind. And I think that the conditioning is to meet so and so's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you think about what your standards were of your teachers, of your previous employer, of your parent, striving to meet their expectations, right? And somehow that is like, we internalize that as this means perfect, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the expectation is the external, right? But the internal is how you turn that into your definition of what you understand as perfect. You think that's perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no such thing. There's no such thing. And so I do agree, like with teachers and with schools and stuff. You know, there's this book I read called what was it called? Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Mm.
And in that book, he talks so much about, in Outwitting the Devil and also in The Body Keeps the Score, they both talk about how school teaches you to follow instructions, to be accepted. It does not teach you necessarily to think critically. It's like this, and these are the standards that you are supposed to meet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? School does not necessarily teach you to be a critical thinker. Life and parenting does that. You know,
Yeah,
is my
do you
thoughts.
agree? Life and parenting.
Yeah. You know, what do you think, Dreya?
Well, I told him in the car when he brought it up that I totally agree with perfectionism. I didn't feel like it was something that was made up, because even if we're striving for perfection to meet someone else's standard, I feel like that's something that we've adapted. We've adopted that behavior, and now we that's what we've been told, and now we're like, that's what perfection is. And yeah, it's internalized a little bit, but somewhere, like, it's not something that we started on our own and said, I'm imperfect. I'm imperfect, because we don't come out of the womb and grow and learn and develop and say one day I'm imperfect. Somebody down the line somewhere made us feel like we were imperfect, whether it was our parents, whether it was our teachers. So I had a hard time differentiating the two. When you're like, it's something that was made up, I was like, I don't know if I made up this perfection in my head. Like, I don't know if I really made up this. Like, and even when I was talking to Andrew, I was talking about the Anthony situation in school, where he may have at some point saw that he was imperfect, where he sat down for a language arts class and worked one-on-one with his teacher. And I remember him calling me crying, basically.
And real quick, just so the audience knows, what grade was Anthony in when this happened?
Anthony was in the third grade when this
Okay.
happened. He called me crying, and that was because he had been suspended from school. But he was working one-on-one with the language arts teacher, who had him write a paragraph about something of some sort. I don't recall. But Anthony wrote this. He wrote a paragraph to his standard. He followed the structure of a paragraph. He wrote it. She crumpled it up, threw it in the garbage, made him rewrite it. He rewrote it. She crumpled that up, threw it in the garbage, told him to rewrite it. And he told me that she did it 6 times, to a point where at that 6th time, he was like, I'm done. I'm not writing it anymore. I wrote it just like she told me to.
Yeah.
I'm done. So he kicked the door, stormed out of the classroom, and that ended up in a suspension. That goes back to me thinking, okay, he thought he was doing an exceptional job. And he may have even thought that what he was doing was perfect to his standard, but somewhere down the line, she made him feel like he wasn't, that what his work wasn't enough. And so that's when I told Andrew, I was like, I'm almost certain that that's when Anthony stopped
Liking school,
having a love for school.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm kind of in the middle about it. I think that it's perfection and imperfections are influenced by people around us, and they have a way of making us feel less than, whether we adopt it or not. I think it's influenced by external.
I still think, because here's the thing: what does perfect mean?
What does it mean?
Right? Who can define that?
Can we Google it real quick?
We can, but I'm saying, but who defines that? Like, what is your definition of a perfect journal? What is a perfect journal? Let me say that.
I mean, you're right. My perfect journal would be different from yours. Like I put all of my thoughts, everything into it, and I try to write it in every single day. That would be perfection for me. Just writing in my journal every single day. What is perfection going to be to you when it comes to writing in the journal?
I love that you asked that question. Can I go or should I shut up?
You can go.
Okay, because when you said that, it's like, what value do you place on perfect?
Yeah.
So it's derived from like
your
internal values and belief system.
And go ahead.
So then going back to the hierarchical words, right? Was in podcast 3 or 4? Yeah, you want to go, Mama, real quick. Going back to that, if that is a hierarchy word, poor, average, good, better, best, perfect, right? If those are values that we assign based on our internal beliefs, and then we're conditioned to follow these directions or follow these guidelines, and we're graded, and that grade system is, one would say an F is bad, right? Is that fair? Like it's just in society, an F is bad, a D is better, a C is average, a B is good, a is great, an A+ is perfect. But I that was an aha moment for me when you said that. It's like, no, it's the value you place on it. So we're not being taught to feel inferior or inadequate or not enough. At the same, so I see that point of view, and I agree with that. It's just so aligned with each other. You know what I mean? That it's kind of scary.
It's very ambiguous, right?
Yeah.
It's so it can be very clouded, and the only reason why I stand on that is because if we're thinking about acceptance, right? And if we're thinking about who has the power, it's not an external source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anybody, like somebody can say to you, like, you are not perfect at this and that, right? But how can they tell you that? Like, how do they know?
Right.
And can I believe them? Right. I just can't. Like, and so as children, they come out, children are not thinking, I suck.
No, they're very resilient.
Yeah, children are like, what do you want to say? Like, narcissists?
Yeah.
They are.
You know what I mean?
And they're fearless.
Mm-hmm.
Children are narcissists. However, yes, society conditions that out of children and turns children into external validation seekers and in that way, right? Mm. Society and upbringing. But you think about, that's no different from any other things, right? Like, how old was you when you was taught like that little girls should cross their legs when they were sitting with a dress? And how early was it when you was like, girls do this and boys do that? Like, you probably can't even remember. It was so early. You probably didn't even have words before you had an understanding of gender, right? Mm-hmm. Those things are things that we were conditioned, socialized, taught. However, not everybody accepts everything. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I know when I was a little girl, I still am so rebellious, right? To this day. Mm-hmm. And I was rebellious as a little girl. So it's like, I would think, well, everybody else is accepting these things and I'm not. What's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. I just am not accepting certain things that maybe other people was accepting. And the same thing goes, like, you probably didn't accept things, right? No. And so the things that you didn't accept, you would probably think something must be wrong with you. Yeah. But it's not. It's just that whatever was trying to be conditioned into you was rejecting. Yeah. And so it's like, well, it's not good or bad. It's just, I don't accept that. Yeah. I rejected that particular normality, right? We all had children as teenagers. Mm-hmm. We were all freshmen in high school.
How old were you?
I was 15 when he was when I was pregnant, and 16 when he was born.
8 days before my 16th birthday, Alicia. Yeah. Yeah.
So we were all parents, right? We became pregnant parents during our freshman year, and then our children was born during our sophomore year. That's not a social societal norm for here in the United States, right? But you go to another country, they're going to be cheering for that.
Yeah.
So, you know, some
Yeah.
might.
Some countries.
You know,
They might.
Yeah.
you know, they're going to be like, yes, you're right on point.
Yeah.
And other people, they're going to be like, yeah, you're getting started right on time.
Yeah.
And everybody else like, you're getting started early. Who gets to decide?
Yeah.
Who says this is perfect? And based
it.
on who and based on where? But we make those things and we aspire to meet whatever we define as that. We only us. Because I remember I asked my mom, I said, what do you want? Like a couple of years ago. What do you want me to do? Just tell me what you want me to do and I will do it. Right? Because I'm like, I cannot be, you know, like I've been in a relationship, like you
Can't
don't
be
like
perfect.
me.
Yeah.
You don't like me because there's nothing that I can do that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, but do they even know?
Yeah.
Right? When you ask somebody what is perfect, sometimes people don't even know what that means to them.
Yeah.
But they just know that you're not meeting. There's an expectation that you are not meeting.
Yeah.
They don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Unspoken expectation.
They don't even know.
Yeah.
But all they know is whatever it is, you're not meeting it. I don't even know what it is. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
And so then you're guessing. That's the insecure kicking in. I don't know. Let me try this. Let me try that. It's the insecurity because now you're feeling like they don't know what they want. And then you're guessing, you're reaching. Now you want to be validated. Nobody is happy because there's no definition. And it should also be like, well, acceptance, right? It should also just be like, well, you know, you figure out what you want to do. I'm just going to keep being me over here. And if you can give me a definition of what you want or what you need from me, then maybe I have the capacity to offer that. But maybe I don't. And maybe I just don't want to.
Okay, you won me over now. You won me over.
Well, and I told you, I was
did.
like the aha moment. I was like, I agree with that. I agree with that.
You totally won me over, and that makes perfect sense.
Oh, perfect.
I'm just
Yo, we here.
It makes sense. It makes
Hey,
sense.
where'd you say?
Clarity.
Yeah.
Clarity.
So, okay.
Crystal clear.
I'm gonna listen if you have to. You know, we do this.
Breathing.
We're so congruent with each other. I want to thank our viewers for being patient with the three of us and accepting us for our raw, authentic selves and being able to share stories. Huh?
Oh no, go ahead.
I love that we are talking about, you know, being conditioned and limiting beliefs, right? And before we go into the conditions of being in a relationship and how, you know, toxic it can be if someone's like angry at you because you're not meeting an expectation and they haven't set that boundary or expectation, that's toxic one for the viewers. If you're in a relationship where somebody doesn't know what they want or need, that's gonna be a tough relationship to work through. I mean, Andre and I have been there, but I don't want to go there right now. I want to go to the conditioning part because we had this conversation in the bedroom about the youth, about kids, right? And knowing the social normalities and different traumas and triggers that kids may go through. When you feel inferior, right? Or you feel like I'm not enough. Because I've walked in rooms where they see the value. They're like, wow, this is valuable. They don't question the price. They just write the check. And I've been in other rooms where I presented the payment and they're like, whoa. Oh, you don't see the value. I'm in the wrong room, right? And we talk about that all the time. It's like, if you're in a room and people don't see your value, you're just in the wrong room. Get in a different room. That's it, that's all. It's easier said than done, right? But my thing is this. So when I walk in that room and I see that they don't see that value, how I internalize or externalize the emotions that follow and how long that takes determines, you know, what my next steps are. And you two know this about me. Hey, didn't see the value. Cool. Keep it moving. Next project. In minutes, I'm on the phone. Hey, just want, you know what I mean? Move on to the next thing. But from a child's point of view, that's been conditioned to be these things, that's not meeting expectations, that's growing up in environments where people aren't saying, hey, this is my boundary and expectation. Like, I encourage you to reach that, and I encourage you to be creative. I want to help support you, you know? Perfect example with Anthony today, not to drift, because I want to go back to that. but it's relevant. Perfect example with Anthony. He said he's going to clean up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he's going to get paid.
Mhm.
Or it was Mondays and Thursdays. And then he didn't do it Monday, didn't do it Tuesday, didn't do it Wednesday. Said he's not going to do it today. He's like, Dad, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm like, okay. You said, I was like, can we have a moment? You said you're going to do it twice a week. You said you're going to do it Tuesday, Thursday, and you're getting paid. Now you're saying you're not going to do it till Friday and you still want your money. And I was like, how can I hold you accountable to you doing what you say you're going to do? And he, he's like, oh, I'm tired. I just do it when I feel like it. Ooh, 15-year-old boy, And I was like, son, I appreciate like your thought process. I really do. And I was like, at the end of the day, it's bigger than the chores. It's bigger than, me setting the standard. It's just me saying, if you set the standard for yourself, I don't want you to lie to yourself. I want you to be a man of your word. I want you to learn integrity. I want you to learn discipline. If you can say, Dad, I'm gonna clean once every 2 weeks. And if you pick a day and time, I want you to know that through all the variables in life, you're gonna come home, you're gonna be exhausted, and you're gonna feel like not doing it, but you made a commitment to yourself, And I told him, I was like, that's all I want from you. I was like, you pick the days, you pick the times, that's fine. I just want, but parents in general we weren't conditioned like that as kids, right? I know my mom didn't say, hey, I need one thing done. You can do it however you want, whenever you want. You choose it, you pick the rules. You know what I mean? Like that didn't happen. So this is the conversation I want to have is when kids are conditioned to not feel worthy or not feel good enough. And we're encouraging youth and we're encouraging adults to find their raw, authentic self. And they don't have those social emotional behaviors or skills, right? /skills to process those feelings and to get out of that. I didn't feel good enough. And now I'm stuck. We were talking about this is like when you're working with that demographic of broken homes, broken families, lost parents, lost children. How can we encourage them to break that cycle? And I don't know if any of us have the answer to that question right now, but it was a powerful conversation. I want to start thinking about that. Like when a child has those limited beliefs or they're surrounded in environments where people don't see their value and their worth, how do we encourage them to be creative or their authentic self? What does that conversation look like?
Do you want to go?
And I know that was long-winded. I'm sorry. We was passionate about it,
All right. So what was your question?
It was just saying that from a child's point of view, when you're conditioned to feel imperfect, when you're conditioned to feel inadequate, or you're not meeting somebody's standard, and you're in these environments that are discouraging you as opposed to encouraging you, how do we touch that child and talk to them to relay a message where it may contradict their current values and beliefs based on their upbringing, based on their surroundings? How do you get them to be like, no, you know what? I am worthy. I am valued. I've just been in the wrong rooms my entire life. How do you build up their courage and confidence to get them to see that light? Because through Back to Basics, we've done it in Pancake Cafe, but we haven't really had a child that comes from, single mom, 4 jobs, never met her, never seen her, Whereas when I was coaching basketball for Anthony's basketball team with Salvation Army, there was parents that I never met. There was parents I could take them in Illinois from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. and wouldn't get one phone call. So it's just interesting. I really want to.
I have thoughts, but
and I want to hear your thoughts. I really want to figure out what are some things that we could start doing just to touch that type of person.
This is what I do when I do work with children. Number one. And I do this with my own kids too, is train. I'm gonna tell you the 2 things: is train the inner voice and critical thinking. And so how is that? Is through mantra, through affirmations. And so and let me tell you, I'm speaking from experience. You remember my nephew was living with me.
I remember.
And so
that was not easy.
What you're talking about, right? In that time, those demographic of children, right, was the demographic of children who was living with me. Nephew was very depressed. He was very angry. He was shut down, right? So it was so many things. I won't go into all the details of what our days were like, but I promise you, it pushed me. It challenged me, right? I cried every day. Okay. And then I would be like, am I doing this for nothing? Right. But then I would be like, if this boy can just have a little bit of hope, you know, a little bit of something, right? Then all of this hell will be worth it. Okay. And so we did affirmations every day. Like all the boys had their own mantras, right? So I had 3 boys at this time, me and my 2 children of mine and my nepson, right? Because he was my nephew/son at the time. And so I would write affirmations for all of them, and we would have the same one every day, right? And so every day, Kayshawn would say his. Every day, Caleb would say his. His was very simple. It was 2 words: I can, I can, I can. And nephew would have his affirmation every day, right? And his would just be like, I am, it was like an I am ready affirmation. I am ready for learning. I am ready to listen. I am ready to ask questions. I am ready to something, right? It was an I am ready affirmation. I wrote them based upon what I felt like they needed, right? And I believe in the power of affirmation, of mantra. I see how it transforms my own life. The way that affirmations works for me and mantra works for me, it's like the same way that a prayer would work for somebody who is like a religious or a spiritual person, right? You say these things every day. You are training your inner voice. And I tell my boys, I say, when I would tell them, why are we, you know why we're doing this? Because I'm training your inner voice. Because one day I won't be here and your inner voice is going to have to kick in and carry you through whatever thing might be challenging your worthiness. If you feel like I can't blah, 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 your inner voice is going to remind you, because you have trained yourself. The way it comes up in your language it's training your subconscious to kick in. And so there's things that I wrote and the things that I wrote now, when I wrote them, they were like a prayer, like, please let this become my reality. Please let me believe these things that I'm writing about this person that I want to become. And so it was like one of the first times, right, that something slipped out of my mouth that was part of my affirmation in conversation. And I was like, it was something like what I desire, require, and deserve. And when I said it, I felt that with my chest. You know what I mean? But I had wrote it and I was practicing it. And it was like, and then it came out and I was like, yeah, what I desire, require, and deserve. You know what I mean? But so it's like you're training. It's like you're doing your mental training. That's how affirmation, mantra, prayer, that's how it works. And it trains your inner voice so that when the world tries to break you, you can't be broken. You know what I mean? And critical thinking, right? That's why school, the power of critical thinking is not so much like, it's not the emphasis on school is meet these tests, get the test scores. Instead of critical thinking, training your child to be a critical thinker means you ask your child a lot of questions. You are not telling your child what to do. You're saying, think, use your brain because you can figure it out, right? Anji play challenges critical thinking.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
My baby goes to one city and they did Anji play for the preschool. It makes you just see what you can do, become resourceful, right? And those are the things that you need to do to become a critical thinker. But it's different if you're in trauma or survival mode, because critical thinking in trauma and survival mode is not making room for any of those other things. Okay. So that's why you got to train that inner voice first. I am worthy. I'm deserving. You is kind. You is smart. You is important.
Yeah.
Man, but it really does something to you on a deeper subconscious level.
Yeah. Well, we all understand how important self-talk is, and manifestations, and words and thoughts and actions. And Gandhi, when what you think, what you say, and what you do are all aligned, that's true happiness. And that's a quote from the almighty Gandhi, right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh man. So it's like, I think, and let me know where y'all go with this. I think the first step into helping somebody in that type of environment, you said you got to train yourself. But it would be hard to train your thoughts in that environment. But you can practice, like you said, you can practice writing down I can. You can practice writing down I will. You can practice writing down I'm ready. You can practice down practice I will receive.
Mhm.
You can practice I will, discuss wants. I will discuss
Mhm.
needs.
Mhm.
You have to take that action and do the mantra affirmations.
Mhm.
I feel
An
like-
You know?
affirmation is like an affirmative word,
Yeah.
right? Like I affirm. So it's not so much of an I hope. It's like
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
right? Like, so it's like you speak those,
Yeah.
speaking into existence, you're visualizing. When you speak those words, you're visualizing who you are, you're connecting with the future version of yourself, right? And therefore you can manifest it because you already can see it, right? So it's like, I am successful, not I hope I'll be or I want to be. No, I am. So it's like, I can, I will, I must, I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very subtle and
Eric
important,
Thomas. Eric Thomas.
Yeah,
I can, I will,
I must, right?
Yeah.
It was playing on the radio when I was doing somebody's hair today.
Yeah.
It's so important, that subtle difference between I want to or I will versus I am, because the mind, it seems out of it's like somewhat out of reach if it's I want to or I want I will, versus I am is like I'm in this moment right now. Teaching the children that, people don't give kids enough credit, but kids are capable, right? My children do it. When I worked with the kids at One City, when I was their mindfulness coach, we did affirmations every week. But I did the affirmations with every student in the school.
And they loved you.
And yes, and that sits with them, right? And when the teacher told me one day the class was in chaos and the little girls were in the corner, there was little girls in the corner doing their breathing exercises. And the parents tell me how their children come home and repeat the mantras that Miss Keena taught them. Do you know what I mean?
Powerful.
Training, it's practice, right?
Yeah. So 6 episodes deep. Step 1 of revealing your authentic inner self. Mantras. Mantra affirmations.
Yes.
It's, write down and speak who you want to be. And do it as if you're in the moment and you're that person now. Because I am this, I am that.
Yes.
I am, I am able, right? I am willing, I am doing, right? I am in this moment and this is who I am.
Right.
I can, I will, I must.
I was going to say something when you were talking about how it's not, you don't want to see the I hopes and things like that. Every time I write papers, I always put I hope or I want, and I let Andrew do I'll let him go in and kind of review my work. And he's always like, babe, I've corrected, I went through it and I read it, and I'll get it back, and he'll have like hope crossed off, want crossed off. He's like, babe, I need you to remove that. And I'm like, no, why? Because I'm working towards that. He was like, no, you need to remove that. And so I was like, why does it matter? Like, why does it? He's like, because that's you know, let me slow down. He'd be like,
I love you so big right now. Look at you.
I'm like, I want to become a writer. He's like, no, you are a writer.
Yes.
You are a writer.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for a very long time. So
he's
been working on me with that. I'm getting emotional again.
Okay. We love you so big.
Yeah. And that positive self-talk that you were talking about. You checked me with love the other day.
Me?
You did, because I was online and I was talking about how what does I say? I'm horrible or something. And you were like, talk positive to my friend. You better speak good stuff to my friend.
Nice to my friend.
Yeah, mantra so I was like, I'm working on that stuff. But it's amazing to hear you guys talk about this stuff and me like pull it out. Like, yes, Andrew holds me accountable in that aspect. Keena's holding me accountable in this aspect. But it's hard. It's hard work
it is at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's practice, right? Like everything is hard at first, and hard is also when you think about every hard thing that you've done. And it's like, aren't you so proud of the hard things that you did, and that even though they were hard, like you persevered through.
Yes.
You did not let the challenge intimidate you or scare you so much that you didn't do it.
Well, there's been a lot of things that I didn't do, but yes, I've worked through
the things that you did, right? We all
have
have things that we didn't do because we were scared to do, right? And that's not a good enough reason to not do it. But we did get beat before like that. But the things that you did do, right? And it also makes the next thing not as intimidating. Once you do that first hard thing.
I had I had been working on this book for a long time, and Andrew, he comes home every day and he'll be like, babe, what can we work on together? Like, what can I help you do?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, babe, I want to do this because, I always have all these ideas, and I come up with a ton of ideas. I'm like, babe, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this. And he's like, baby. And it's not that he doubts me. He's just looking at me like, you just got to do it. I was like, babe, but you're the doer. Like, I'm the over processor. I have to think about everything in the bigger perspective. And he's like, you just have to do it. And so one day I woke up and was like, babe, I submitted my whatchamacallit to the query, and I submitted my manuscript to the book publisher. Like, all of this is happening, and I finally paid for this, and I finally got the illustrator. And so that's what I've been doing now. But it's all because he's been like, but you just got to do it. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to. It's all because I'm scared. It's the fear of failing.
The fear of being
and the fear is
imperfect,
driving you. How do you feel about that? Like, how would you feel if you said, I knew what I was called to do, but I didn't do it because I was scared?
Well, one, I feel very disappointed. I feel sad. I don't know. Just disappointed.
I love this conversation. And so for the viewers out there, just like the mantra affirmations, I can't tell you how many times Andrea's come home or she's like, babe, can I talk to you? I'm like, do you need my undivided attention? She's like, yes, I do. I'm like, what's up? She's like, I've been doing some journaling. When you say I've been doing some journaling, it gives me chills. I get stimulated, not in like the nasty way, but I get like, I'm ready. I'm like, oh, we about to do some shadow work, G. Like, let me go take my shirt off and put some deodorant. You know what I'm saying? Like, Alicia, take Aceyn. I'm about to duke it out with your mom because I know she's gonna have some beautiful things to say, beautiful reflections. But can I be a little bit vulnerable just about your book and how long it took?
Yeah.
So Andrea's been talking about this. Alicia did it. She did another book. This is the third book now or the second? It's the second. Okay. It just took a long time. And she used to be very idealistic, but A through Z, perfections, everything in place, structure, not taking action, right? And she's always said, I'm the doer. And when we called you that night, I'm like, hey, I need Andrea to have an emotional support buddy because she's telling me she wants me to push her. I'm about to push her, right? So when we talk about, being, and we haven't pushed you towards working out, but we'll get there. But in specific, what? Oh, Andre, yeah, okay. I love that you took notes though. So when we talk about the book and how difficult it was so difficult for her even to submit the letter, and all the fears and doubts were instilled in the letter. And it wasn't, I wasn't very directive, like do this, do that. It was just, babe, like when you say things like, I hope, or there were some other words that you used in there. I don't remember. I want to. It's like, no, like, I think one of the sentences was like, in hopes that this would, add to your diverse collection or something. I'm like, no, this will add to your collection.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Two different things.
Andrew.
You know what I mean? But so she did the letter, right? And that was probably 4 months ago. Did the letter. Okay, got the letter done. Then it's okay, I gotta figure out how to do publishing, who does this, really don't know what to do, really don't know how I want each page to do. But through 3 months of doing this, and creating these habits and behaviors of at night working on the book with the publisher, I think it was just 2 days ago, I was like, babe, where are you at in your book? Let me get Aceyn. Let me help support you. And she was like, babe, what were you like? I'm 10 pages ahead. Like now, because she removed that fear of being perfect, now she's so far ahead, she's waiting on the publisher, the illustrator to catch up. And I didn't get to give you your roses in that moment, but all the Drews in my head was like, go girl, it's your birthday. We gonna party like it's y'all seen the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, 50 Cent open this piece.
Yeah.
But and even like Eminem, like living in the moment, and I don't know how I got to Super Bowl. Like the 90s really got me. But like to see that and see how you used to, live in the shell, right? And live in the shell and want support and encouragement or want guidance. And for me, it was always a struggle because I'm like, I don't know how to coach you because I haven't seen you do, like I just see you think, and I love your thought process, but like you, for whatever reason, we just didn't have that mutual understanding. And now that we have this mutual understanding, like we just been running, we've been running. Things have been transpiring. Look at all of our relationships. You got a contract last week.
And I met with my coaching client today.
You met with your coaching client. Yep.
She said at the end of the session, she said, I feel so restored.
Yep. Yeah. I got a consulting contract.
Yep.
You know,
Congratulations.
You're publishing your book.
Yep.
You know, the class of life is blowing up.
Right.
You know, and
Should we call it that?
should we call it pod class?
I don't know. No, I don't
no.
know.
Good bad breakthrough.
Yes.
Yeah. But I just really appreciate the fact that, everything that we share with our audience and everything that we share with each other, it's like a journey, right? It's a story, and then through 6 episodes with step 1, mantra affirmations. Is that politically correct? Am I saying it correct?
You can say mantra or you can say affirmations.
Okay. So
I
affirmations.
say both because some people recognize one word or the other.
Okay. So mantra / affirmations.
Yeah.
Okay. That's step 1. Let's get there.
Train the mind.
Yeah, let's train the
That's
mind
the
through
biggest
practicing
enemy.
writing. Yeah. And vocalizing. I am. I am kind. I am confident. I am this person. I am the helper. I am the problem solver. I am the understander.
I am the alchemist of my life
Oh,
journey.
I love it.
So, question for you. So we actually do, and I don't think Andrew realizes it, but he does affirmations with Aceyn, and Aceyn can't say I am all of these things, but he will, whisper in Aceyn's ear, or even when he's up during the day, he's always like identifying all the things that Aceyn is, but he'll be like, you are. But he's always citing it, and so we do that a lot.
We do. You're right.
Yeah.
It's just part of my thought process, though, right?
Yeah.
It's a behavior and a habit that I do second nature. I don't even think about it. It's just part of me.
Yeah.
So would that suffice for, like, if you wanted to do affirmations with somebody Aceyn's age?
Absolutely.
You're just
saying them to them because that's going to be the language he recognizes. Or if somebody says anything about like trying to tear him down. Yeah. It's like, you've seen Caleb, how he stands up for himself.
Yes.
You know how Caleb is. If somebody tries to cast doubt into Caleb, that boy has his sense of belonging and sense of self. He's going to be like, what are you talking about?
He will choose not to accept that.
He will not accept it. He will be like, he will be sincerely confused. Like, what are you talking about?
Even when I observed him in the classroom those years back when the kids would like want to race him and they'd say they were the faster runner, Caleb would be like, no, you're not. That's just what he's going to say. It's like, okay, Caleb, I'm a faster runner than you, and I can run faster than you. You can't run that fast. And Caleb was like, I can run fast, and you're not a faster runner than me. He'd literally go to the end of the gate on the back where the sandbox is, and they would race. They would race until he won. That was it.
Yeah. And the way he sticks up for himself, he's not going to let nobody treat him any kind of way.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be like, I deserve to be treated with kindness. And I offer that to you. I deserve that.
He'll tell you not to. He'll say, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah,
he will.
And he'll tell you what the consequences are. If you talk to me like that, I'm not going to play with you anymore because I deserve to be treated better.
Wow, what a powerful podcast. We'll have to recap what we talked about in our next podcast. You know what I'm saying? Because I love that we have beginning, middle, end, and we have these organic conversations, and we have such powerful like epiphanies and life realizations, and the things that we are already doing, eating, breathing, and sleeping, we're able to vocalize through storytelling. And I think it's really beautiful. Podcast 7 is going to be out next week. I think it's going to be hot. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's, I got to stop wearing sweaters. Like I be getting hot talking to y'all. Like, do y'all temperatures be rising? Like the vibrations, the energy, like, or is that me? Maybe I'm just.
I don't know. Sometimes but I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes. I think mostly.
Yeah.
I'm anemic.
You're so funny. Y'all both anemic. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not so
my hands are still freezing.
So when the vents are off, y'all like it's cold. Like Jason, we need to turn the heat back on. Jason. No. So, all right. Yeah. I'm so excited to continue to do this, and hopefully we have some good, bad breakthrough moments with our audience, and might have a new title next week. I don't know. Right. We're going to do some shadow work and we're going to do some research. So TBD, Keena's wonderful at talking about where to find us.
Yes, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. Those are our social media pages. They're all listed in the show notes below. And you can listen to the audio version of this podcast on all the platforms. Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. You can find us on all those platforms. And the video version of this is on YouTube. The latest version will always be on YouTube. However, you can catch some of the older videos on Facebook.
Hella back.
Yes.
Unconditional.